Do you want to know how Warren Buffett built his fortune? In this video, we will reveal the essential lessons he learned from a young age that you can also apply to reach your first $100,000. Don't miss it. Pay attention, because I'm going to tell you a secret about getting rich. If you are watching this video, it's because you want to know how to become a millionaire one day. But here's a surprise. The hardest part of becoming a millionaire isn't reaching $1 million, but getting to your first $100,000. Once you pass that barrier, a lot will have already taken off. And it's not just me saying this, it's a tip from Warren Buffett, who knows a lot about the subject. Stay with me until the end of this video. Alright, now let's get to the point. If I asked someone what the most powerful tool for accumulating wealth is, what do you think they would say? Some might say it's having a high-paying job, choosing stocks that do well, or even having a rich family. Those things can help, but nothing compares to the power we call compound interest. Understanding and using compound interest correctly can be the difference between getting super rich or living paycheck to paycheck. In the video, you will understand why this is true. Buffett always says that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. He mentioned how compound interest helped build his fortune. When I was a kid, I earned a nickel in allowance, but always wanted a little more to work with. I started selling Coca-Cola door to door, chewing gum, magazines. I loved being my own boss. Delivering newspapers was cool because I set my own route, with no one bothering me in the morning. I delivered 500 newspapers a day and earned a penny for each. But in terms of compound interest, that penny turned into something else. And there's a famous saying from Einstein that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He tells a story about how if you put a grain of wheat on the first square of a chessboard and double the amount on each subsequent square, in the end, you have an absurd amount. This shows how a simple concept can generate incredible results over time. Once you hit the $100,000 mark, that's when compound interest starts doing its job. To show you how powerful this is, let me tell you a quick story about two guys, William and Richard. They are almost identical, the same age, work in the same field, and earn the same. But the big difference between them is something that seems small at first glance, but will end up making a huge difference in their lives, especially when it comes to reaching $100,000. William is the type of guy who works hard and moves up in his career. But there's a problem. He never watched this video, so he doesn't know how important it is to reach the first $100,000. Therefore, he lives his financial life casually. Over time, William manages to hit the $100,000 mark at 45 years old. If we assume he never saves another penny and has a 10% annual return, when he turns 70, his net worth will be around $1.1 million. Not bad, right? Now, let's talk about Richard. Luckily, he watched this video when he was in his 20s. A tip: don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because my goal is to help you build wealth by learning from the greatest investors in the world. It's free, and you'll get informative and entertaining content. Back to Richard. He was super focused on reaching $100,000 as quickly as possible. All his effort paid off, and he made it by 30 years old, 15 years before William. Assuming Richard also never saves anything else and has the same 10% annual return, how much do you think he will have when he turns 70? Of course, since Richard hit $100, 15 years before William, we already know he will have more money. But the difference is absurd. Richard ends up with over $4.5 million when he turns 70. while William only has 1.1. That's a difference of $3.5 million. What really matters here is that all this happened just because Richard managed to hit the $100,000 mark faster. That's the magic of compound interest. Your money works for you instead of you working for it. Look, Richard didn't save a single extra dollar after reaching $100,000. The amazing part is that 98% of the $4.5 million portfolio he accumulated came from investment gains. In other words, most of Richard's wealth came from his money earning returns, not from him killing himself working. Now that we understand why reaching $100,000 is so crucial for building wealth, I'm going to give you some practical advice that comes from the early life of the legendary investor Warren Buffett. These steps are from the time when Buffett was still hustling to gather his first $100,000, which was the seed capital for his impressive $149.9 billion fortune today. First, it's important to know that to invest money, you first need to save. This may seem obvious, but many people overlook this detail. How much you can save and invest in a given period is basically the difference between how much you earn and how much you spend. Think of your financial life as if it were a business. The goal is to maximize profits, meaning earn as much as possible while minimizing expenses. Try to apply this idea in your life and to increase your income while keeping or even reducing your expenses. Now, let's focus on the income part, which is fundamental in your journey to $100,000. At 21 years old, Warren Buffett had already managed to save about $20,000. If you think about it, this was in 1951, so this amount would be equivalent to over $240,000 today. An impressive achievement for a young Buffett. Here are 3 lessons he learned that you can apply right now to increase your income and reach your first $100,000 faster. First lesson, find an additional source of income. In his younger years, Buffett was a true master of side hustles, even before that concept existed. His favorite book as a child was 1,000 Ways to Earn $1,000, which not only taught him about compound interest, but also inspired him to explore various ventures. One of his more, let's say, creative ventures involved fishing golf balls from a lake at a local golf course and reselling them. As you can imagine, this practice was not exactly well received by the course owner. So, Buffett and his friend used to seek out their goods at night, almost clandestinely. But this business model required more physical effort than Buffett wanted. And that's where one of his most profitable business ideas in his youth came into play: the pinball machine business. He and a friend bought old machines for pennies, and his friend took care of the repairs. Buffett would go to local barbershops and offer a deal. Let us put this pinball machine in your barbershop, and we'll split the profits. The business took off. Soon, they had several old pinball machines scattered around the city. After a year, Buffett sold the operation for $1,000, the equivalent of over $116,000 in today's money. Not bad for a high school student. Although pinball machines are no longer a craze, the lesson is clear. Seek ways to supplement your income to increase the amount you can invest. This simple action will help you reach the $100,000 goal much faster. The second lesson from Warren Buffett is about the importance of finding a job where your pay is tied to your performance. Let me explain that better. Buffett's first job was at his grandfather's grocery store, where he worked 12 hours a day and earned only $2, which is about 16 cents per hour. With that, Buffett realized that no matter how hard he worked, that job would never provide the money needed for him to get rich. So, Buffett decided to look for a job where his salary would be determined by his performance, not just by the number of hours worked. For him, this meant becoming a newspaper delivery person. His delivery route was commission-based, meaning he received a percentage of the price of the newspaper for each paper delivered. This encouraged him to be creative in maximizing his earnings by looking for the most efficient routes to cover more areas and deliver more newspapers. Additionally, he also earned more when customers decided to upgrade their subscriptions to include magazines. Thanks to this effort, Buffett began earning 10 times more delivering newspapers than at the grocery store, working only a fraction of the hours. This is the beauty of having a job that rewards performance. Today, while newspaper routes are not a practical strategy, sales jobs offer excellent earning opportunities for those who excel. General managers of stores, for example, can earn well into six figures if they meet their targets and receive bonuses. The third lesson from Buffett on how to increase your income is to work in a career where you have a moat. At first, this may seem like a strange concept, but let me explain. Traditionally, a moat is a protective barrier, like those moats around medieval castles. In the investment world, the term refers to a company's ability to maintain a competitive advantage over its competitors, making it much more profitable over time. This means that when choosing a career, you should look for areas where you have an advantage that protects you from the competition. This can include skills, experiences, or networks that set you apart from others. That way, you will have a better chance of succeeding and increasing your income over time. Believe it or not, the moat concept can also be applied to your career. Ideally, you should find a career path that not only offers financial gains now, but also has the potential to grow in the future. To do that, you need to place yourself in a scenario where you have a sustainable competitive advantage. One way to visualize this is to think of a Venn diagram with 3 circles. What you do well, what you love to do, and what pays well. The intersection of these 3 circles represents a career where you can have an advantage over the competition and, consequently, be highly compensated for it. For Warren Buffett, this meant becoming a research analyst at a hedge fund run by his mentor, Ben Graham. This job clearly met all the criteria. Buffett was exceptional at researching stocks. He was the first and only student to receive an A in Ben Graham's classic course at Columbia Business School. Additionally, Buffett truly enjoyed analyzing stocks, something he began doing at just 11 years old. And, of course, the job paid very well. Hedge funds typically take a percentage of the profits they generate for investors, which can be extremely lucrative. Given that this position met all 3 criteria, it's no surprise that it led Warren Buffett to accumulate a considerable fortune. After just 3 years working with Ben Graham, Buffett's wealth skyrocketed to $140,000, equivalent to about $1.6 million today. If you follow Warren Buffett's principles, you can accelerate your progress toward the important $100,000 milestone. This provides a solid financial foundation, allowing your wealth to grow as compound interest starts to come into play. During this wealth-building journey, it's crucial to start investing as early as possible, even if your initial capital isn't large. The important thing is to take the first step and start making your money work for you. Did you like the tips? Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to not miss any valuable strategy. Share your financial goals in the comments, and let's go together on this journey toward financial freedom.